Society lecture series, and I'd like to remind you too to turn off your cell phones and pagers and all that kind of fun stuff now, so we don't interrupt tonight's talk. I would turn mine off, but I don't have one. We'd like to remind you too that the next installment that we have is going to be Thursday, March the 5th, 2009. It's also going to be an extremely interesting talk. It's going to be a veterans roundtable. It's going to be in this room, 6:30. On that night, we're going to have two enlisted men, a platoon leader and a company commander, all from the Mississippi National Guard who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. They're going to come and talk about, we're going to get a very strategic view of the war today, and we're going to get a kind of a grunt's eye view of the war on March the 5th. They're going to make a few remarks about their experience, and then they're going to take questions from the audience. It's going to be a round table. So that's well worth coming to come see your friends and neighbors. Tonight's talk, we're very lucky to have Major General Buford Blount come talk to us. He retired from the Army in January 2005 from his position as the Army's Deputy G3, that's Plans and Operations in the Pentagon. Previously, he was the Commanding General of 3rd Infantry Division Mechanized, Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield. General Blount gave up command of the 3rd ID after bringing them home from Iraq, where they were the lead force in defeating the Iraqi army and capturing Baghdad. As the vanguard for coalition operations, the division moved 8,000 vehicles and 22,000 soldiers, 750 kilometers in 21 days. 500 of those kilometers were in the first 3 days alone. The 3rd ID engaged in 21 continuous days of fighting from the time the division crossed the berm until the day Baghdad fell on April the 9th. Under General Blount's leadership, the 3rd ID fought superbly to overcome incredible obstacles and propelled the division to a historic success. From 1997 to 2001, General Blount served as the program manager for a Saudi Arabian military modernization program, serving as special advisor to Crown Prince Abdullah, who's now King Abdullah. General Blount also has other various experiences in Middle Eastern countries and served as in a variety of leadership and staff positions around the world. General Blount is a 1971 graduate of Southern Miss and holds a Master of Science degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from the United States Naval War College. His numerous awards include 2 Distinguished Service Medals and a Silver Star. In addition to his position as a distinguished guest lecturer in National Defense and Strategic Studies here at Southern Miss, he has for a number of years been lobbying in Washington and also founded the Ares Systems Group and the BCI Group based in Washington, correct? He is a great friend of Southern Miss. He is a member of our Board of Advisors for the Center of Study of War and Society. We're really lucky to have him here not only to speak to us tonight, but to work with us in this area. Tonight he will talk about his experience in Operation Iraqi Freedom in a talk entitled Early Days in Iraq, Baghdad and Beyond. Please welcome General Buford Blount.
There are 2 or 3 seats up here in front. I won't bite. Okay, so if somebody else wants to sit down. Well, pleasure to be here tonight. I look forward to talking to you a little bit. I graduated from Southern in 1971, went straight in, went through the ROTC program here, and went directly into the Army, and first tour was in Germany. Been moving around ever since. I've got a very bad cold or flu, hit me yesterday, so I'm a little concerned about my voice holding out tonight. Come on in. And, so I'll talk as long as I can. I've given several presentations. I really haven't done one focused on our attack into Iraq. I usually tie it around leadership or some other lessons learned, technology advancements, things like that. But because of the focus of this group, I wanted to really just talk about war. Because my voice is a little weak, I just plugged in a bunch of pictures tonight, so I usually don't show this many pictures, but I'm going to show some more pictures and not have to talk as much. Please ask questions. It'll be very boring if I'm standing up here and talking for 2 hours or an hour. And it'll give me a chance to get something to drink too, to keep my voice going here. Can everybody hear me in the back? Because this is about as loud as I'm going to be able to talk tonight. Okay. I was selected to command the 3rd Infantry Division. Everybody see that all right, or we need to dim the lights a little? Yeah, can we dim them? Probably not doable, is it? 10 divisions, and so I was selected by General Senzecki, the Chief of Staff then, to command the 3rd Infantry Division, with some anticipation that we might be going to war in the Mideast. And with my experience, I've spent 6 years in Saudi and been in Jordan, Egypt, and other places in the Middle East. I was probably one of the more experienced Middle East officers we had, so he selected me to command 3rd ID, and a real honor. We got to spend, and of course we didn't know whether we were going to go to war or not, and so we spent I rotated units through Kuwait training for about 9 months before we actually attacked. For about, I went over in September, October time period, and we ended up attacking in March. But we were down here in Kuwait, living out in the desert, in tents, and had a pretty good opportunity to do large-scale maneuvers. Here in the U.S., really only one place you can do maybe 2 or 3 brigade size maneuver. That's out at Fort Irwin, California. But here I was able to get the whole division out into the field and do a division size maneuver, and that's something we just don't have the opportunity to do here in the States. So we're in Kuwait, getting ready to go to war. We're gradually bringing all of our soldiers over and continuing to train. And then, we watch television closely. We watch the UN and the negotiations that are going on. But while we're there, we're doing a lot of different things. One of the things we're doing is, planning to attack. And I had about 17 different plans. The longer you stay there, the more planning you get to do. And my planners they were ready to go after January. So they would have to quit planning. But I kept asking them to come up with different scenarios. I had a plan to get to Baghdad in 24 hours. I had one to get there in 48 hours, 76 hours, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, just depending on what the situation was, and how quickly things were going to deteriorate in Baghdad. We had plans to try to assassinate Saddam, and if that was going to happen, to take out the top leadership of the Ba'athist Party, we were afraid, chaos would ensue. So we needed to get the U.S. forces up there on the ground very, very quickly. And so we had a couple of plans to do that. And that was based on unopposed. I spent a lot of time planning fuel. Fuel was one of my greatest challenges, is we're going to plan to move all the way to Baghdad. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But I had 10,000 vehicles to move. They all use a lot of fuel. And a tank, an M1 tank carries 500 gallons, and it's got 4 different fuel cells there. It carries 500 gallons, and it uses about 500 gallons a day. And so I had over 300 of those. So that's a lot of fuel every day, and you gotta keep. And no gas stations open. If you didn't have it with you, you didn't get it. Also spent a lot of time looking at the terrain and trying to decide what's the best way to get to Baghdad and what type of fight we would have to do in the different areas. We knew we were going to have to fight in the desert. That was my desire, was to stay out as far to the west as possible to avoid all the cities. If you look, you've got the Euphrates River here and the Tigris over here. The Euphrates is, I wanted to stay west of the Euphrates out here in the desert to get up here to avoid all the built-up areas and a lot of the canals over there too. You'll see a lot of blue lines here as you go up. Just a lot, tens of thousands of canals, irrigation canals, anywhere from 1 meter wide to 100 meters wide, in addition to the river. And they just went everywhere. And you really didn't have a good mapping system to show you where all these were, where the bridges were, where you could cross them. So we wanted to try to avoid this. I spent a lot of time with my higher headquarters. They wanted me to go up the middle here, and I just kept telling them that we really didn't want to do that. We become too bogged down in the populated areas, too bogged down in a lot of agriculture, a lot of canals there. Here's a picture of one of the canals. But that's a pretty good obstacle there. And they're just literally you may have to drive 10 miles before you could find a bridge that crossed over it, or you had to put your own bridge in. But there are literally tens of thousands of these scattered throughout our avenues of attack, unless you're out in the desert, and they're not any. So we were looking at satellite pictures, had a lot of satellite imagery, trying to decide the best way to attack, and I finally came up with my plan and convinced my higher headquarters that this, going out west was the best way to go. We knew we had to fight in urban terrain, and so as you go by these areas, you're going to have cities all around you, but you're going to have to deal with the civilians and agricultural and a lot of different things, industry things that are going on day to day as we attack. This is a good picture of like I said, we carried everything with us. I mean, if you didn't carry it with you, you didn't have it. There were no, there's no long supply line following us behind us. We were the division, completely packaged and self-contained. So the soldiers had to carry everything with them, everything that they were going to need to live on for the next 3 to 6 months. We really didn't know how long they had to carry. So each of them had a duffel bag here, and they had a tan sack around it to camouflage it. But the benefit of these on the side of the Bradley, and everybody had their little tanks, Bradleys, APCs, armed personnel carriers. We got into a lot of fights, and every vehicle took some hits of some type. But a lot of RPGs hit these bags, and it was really acted as a shield. It would cause the RPG to detonate, and the warhead to prematurely try to penetrate, and then it would hit the armor and be deflected or diffused. And so we had probably 20 to 30 cases where RPGs hit those rucksacks or duffel bags and exploded, and really saved the crews inside because of that. Of course, when I got to Baghdad, all their stuff was gone. The soldiers, all their extra boots and uniforms and everything they owned were in those bags, and we were all dressed in chemical suits. I'll show you one of those in a minute. But everybody had on a chemical suit and a mop, we call it mop, protective clothing, and underwear basically. So you just had on your underwear and then your chemical suit, and that's what we lived in basically for a month. And you didn't have change of clothes. You change your socks, and once a week you change your underwear maybe, but if you had time. But that's what you lived in. So when we got to Baghdad, everybody was ready to take those chemical suits off. I mean, they're about a 3/4 of an inch thick charcoal filtered system, and they were pretty rank by the time we finally got clearance to take them off. And so we were very glad to get rid of them. But the guys that lost their stuff, didn't have anything else to put on. So we had to scrounge around and get fine uniforms, and so they borrow somebody else's uniform. So we're never sure about the name tags if their guys were in the right uniform. Now we knew we'd have to fight in cities also. Once we got to, we knew we were going to get bogged down in some of the urban terrain and some of the cities, and so we had to be prepared for that. This is just one of the situations we encountered as you're in Baghdad fighting, and the Iraqis really didn't know we were there. They were listening to television. If you remember, we called him Baghdad Bob, but their public relations. He was on the television all the time talking, and he said, "Well, we pushed the Americans out of the airport. They've all been killed. They're 100 miles south of here. Nothing to worry about." And so all Iraqi people believed that, and they really did. So when we showed up in downtown Baghdad, no one knew we were there. In reality, I mean, we captured 2 or 3 generals, and they said, "You're not supposed to be here. You're 100 miles south of here. There's no Americans here." And so that's one of the reasons I made a decision to do the attack down into Baghdad, was to show them that we were in fact there, and try to disprove and discredit their information, their psychological information they were putting out to all the people, saying, "Hey, we're dominating the Americans." This was emboldening the soldiers to continue to fight, and I wanted to break that will and let them know that we were in Baghdad. Your leadership's lying to you. You can't trust them. You need to go ahead and surrender. And so we did a good bit of that. But The military knew we were there, and they really had very poor communication. We'd shut a lot of the communications down there with the help of the Air Force early on. But they did do word of mouth, and they were able to move their divisions around and get the word out. And they were good at counterattacking, but they really didn't know where we were most of the time. But like this bus could very well be full of soldiers. One of these cars could be a suicide bomber, with explosives in there, and we really didn't know. And we had to just really watch the areas around you. You don't know who's going to be shooting at you. And most of them were wearing civilian clothes at this time, except for the Special Republican Guard. So very tough for the soldiers, our soldiers, to handle this type of operation here with so many civilians, so much traffic around there. They hid their vehicles under bridges. They hid them in the palm groves. They were pretty good at concealing their equipment. So the tank here has been destroyed. This is one of our soldiers carrying one of their weapons, AK-47. And I found a lot of our guys picked those up for 2 or 3 reasons. One is it's not a bad weapon. It's got a little bigger bullet than our M16 or M4 rifles. But also there was a lot of ammunition. We had a lot of 7.62 ammunition. We found out that we shot a lot of ammunition every day. I had battalions, which is 800, roughly 800 people, and like my CAV squad, and they shot all of their small arms ammunition like 3 or 4 days in a row. I mean, they just would consume this. They were that heavy a fight going through the different areas. I'll show you where some of the heavier fighting was. But this is just from one, a couple of vehicles parked here, and the ammunition that they shot while they were in that location. So, a lot of heavy fighting. One reason I like to talk about this is what our third ID and the MAR did really has been kind of overshadowed by the insurgency. And so a lot of the great things, a lot of the heroic efforts of the lead elements in there, the hardships that we went through, were kind of lost in the last several years of the insurgency. While we were in Kuwait, we did a lot of modernization. We were there for, like I said, 6 months. We had a lot of stuff given to us. Since we were going to be the only Army division fighting, a lot of people wanted to help us. And some of it was good help, some of it was help we really could have done without. But some things worked very, very well. And I'll show you the command and control vehicle we got, but we were able to have technology, have computer situational awareness that a lot of people take for granted today, but the GPS, that type of stuff, we just didn't have it until we got into Kuwait and started getting ready to attack. And then all of this stuff was given to us in warfare. We had a few apartment Humvees, but not nearly enough. Body armor. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I had about this happy place, the heavy plate that goes inside the flak vest. I had about 300 pairs of those, out of for 21,000 soldiers. So we just didn't have that stuff. This is LRAS, just a fantastic night vision. This thing can look out to 6 miles. You can see a mouse on the ground 6 miles away at night, and give you a very, very, very accurate location on it. And it really gave us a technology that changed how we moved. And that's one thing, being able to move in the desert there. We had so much technology, we really had to rethink how we fought, how I was going to command, and how we were going to move so far, so fast, that the standard way of doing things, moving 15, 20 kilometers, stopping, setting up, getting the communications going, getting all your, we were going to move 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, without stopping. So our 15, 20, 30 kilometer moves just really became OBE, and so we had to adjust to that. This gave us capability to see out and to see the enemy much greater distances. My scouts before they got this, the limit of their observation at night was about 100 meters. It was about 100 meters. The night vision, that's all they had. Now they can see 10 kilometers, 6 miles out there, and target. So just a great capability. Come on in. These are some experimental vehicles that the Army tested and didn't want to buy mass production, but I have about 3 of them in my division, and this is what I use as my command and control center. It's got it's a little fuzzy. It's got a lot of satellite communications. It's got a great antenna that goes up into, it's not up right now, but goes up about 40 feet into the, you just push a button and the hatch opens, this big antenna goes up, and it's just great communications. While we were there in Kuwait getting ready to attack, we had a lot of visitors, and a lot of people very interested in, okay, what's different between the first Desert War and the second Desert War? Now, what do you have that's different than what they had, in the first Gulf War? And so this is inside my command vehicle, and so everybody wanted to see inside of it. But we had a lot of visitors, had a lot of embedded media. I had 85 media teams embedded in the division. But everybody wanted to come, while we're training there in Kuwait, wanted to come visit. Now, Diane Sawyer didn't want to go with us when we were attacking, but she did come spend a couple of days, and she had said, I'll come visit you in Baghdad after you get there. But a lot of people were wanting, to compare the first Gulf War. Now, one thing about our division that I pointed out is our division, when we attacked, was actually 30% smaller than the division was in the first Gulf War. Now, a lot of people didn't realize that, but we had downsized our Army, downsized our divisions. Partly because of the effectiveness of the division in the first Gulf War. They said, well, we can save money by taking, where we used to have 58 tanks in a battalion, we took it down to 44. So we took a company out of every tank battalion across the division, did that. And same with our Bradley. So we were a third smaller than the division in the first Gulf War. Just some little information here. We used, you see, 4 million gallons of fuel that we had to carry with us, and had a lot of 5,000 gallon fuel trucks. But making sure that fuel, to feed these big vehicles was critical. We ate a lot of meal ready to eat MREs, and we had to bring all our water with us. Now, the families back at Fort Stewart were very worried about, they're going to go to war. My wife was, she was the senior lady back there, and so, they had their meetings and tried to put information out. But very stressful on the families back there, just, waiting for the decision, are they going to go to war? When is that going to happen? Are they going to use chemical weapons against it? And a lot of people were talking about using chemical weapons. A lot of people are projecting you're going to have 10,000 casualties the first week of fighting. So a lot of worrying going on back there. While we're in the desert building our team. So team building is very important for a military organization. To know your leader, know how he thinks, know your subordinates, know who to give your missions to. This kind of stress a big challenge we had was when to cut off communications with the families. We're getting ready to attack, and that's secret, that's classified, and when we're going to actually do it. And so up to this point, we had internet cafes, and nobody had cell phones because they didn't work where we were. But we did have about 50 banks of phones there where people could call, once every 3 or 4 days, call back home. When we got ready to attack, we shut all that down, moved it out. Well, we didn't want the soldiers saying we're getting ready to attack, and then that's going to be in the news, the next day. So it was really a challenge how to sever the communication. So I had to make sure the senior ladies knew back there that someone's getting ready to have, we're going to, all the husbands are okay, all the spouses are okay. They just can't call home anymore for a while. Now this is my team that I built. We worked together there in the desert for 6 months before we attacked. So I knew them quite well, knew their strengths, knew their weaknesses. I knew if I wanted something done immediately, if I needed a bridge taken or somebody to go reinforce or relieve somebody, I know who to call. If I wanted something to do done perfectly right and done very methodically, but they're going to take 2 days to plan it and going to execute it in inch by inch, I knew who to call and give that mission to. So But knowing your people, knowing your team is very, very important, because the decisions that we made impacted a lot of people's lives. A lot of people gave their lives for us based on the decisions that we made. And when I make a decision, then we want to make sure that everyone understood it. We also looked at our enemy. This is probably still down here in Kuwait now. We looked at where the enemy was located, where the different divisions were supposed to be. It was going to be very important with our technology to be able to determine where the enemy was, UAVs, etc. Also, since we're going into the west here, there's really only one good road that goes west of the Euphrates. But I know I needed, and we had our first objective here, and we had to fight for. So what I wanted to do, rather than trying to run 10,000 vehicles up this one area here, I made the decision to split my forces and send half the division out here in the desert. So while we're in Kuwait here, I was able to tap into satellites, and so I got imagery of this whole road that really is a trail out here. Has some wadis and bridges washed out, stuff like that. But I was able to get great detail of this whole route here to make sure that I could send tanks out there, make sure I could send 5,000-gallon tankers out there to refuel the vehicles. So that was our, we spent time making a lot of time worrying about this decision. I didn't want to have my division out here and then have to turn around and come back. And that would be a disaster. We're also studying water. All of this area in here that's kind of grayish could be flooded, if they open these dams up here. Saddam used that water as a means to control the population down here. So a lot of this area in here could be flooded if they open the right dams and closed others. So we were watching that very closely. But these are guys we knew we were going to have to fight, and we were trying to locate them. A key part of our plan to go into Baghdad was to be able to eliminate these elements up in here. There were 3 divisions located in here, plus some reinforcements. To be able to find them, the Air Force wasn't, we were having trouble locating tanks. We just couldn't find them. With all the satellite imagery, all the flyovers, all the intel we had. So we knew we had to get some UAVs up to do some detailed searches in this area. The UAV we had to launch it from this area here on a job to cover this area. So before I could go into Baghdad, we wanted to get here and then build an airstrip to launch our unmanned aerial vehicle, our UAVs, to look for the enemies up in here. So that was one of our goals, was to get up here and get this airfield built to use a UAV. We finally got to a mission to attack. This was our first shot, multiple MLRS rocket we launched from inside Kuwait, shooting at the enemy. This was our plan. Our first objective was on Nasiriyah, just to this big air base here, Jalil Air Force Base. That was our first objective. Plus this bridge going across here, crossing the Euphrates. We didn't need it, but the Marines did, so that was a bridge that we wanted to seize for them. So I set half the division up this road. We had 10,000 vehicles now to get through. Had about 10 roads to send them down to. Now, this was pretty heavily obstacled, a minefield. They were ditching big tank ditches built there. We had to fill all that in, clear the minefields. There was a light reconnaissance force in this area that we had to destroy before we could continue the attack. We tried to make sure we shut down their communications first so that they didn't get the word out that we were coming. And so half the division went this way, and then the other half took off through the desert here. Now, without our technology advantage, being able to, I could watch these guys moving on my computer screen. Every company commander had a little transponder on his vehicle sending a signal every 15 seconds as to where he was. And so I was able to watch all the vehicles moving out through the desert here and keep track of them that way and talk to them through satellite contact. I never would have made that decision if I didn't have that technology and hadn't been able to practice using it in Kuwait beforehand. So that really paid a lot of dividends. But the plan was to send half the division out this way, and then half the division would go and seize these objectives here, and then continue to move on up this road. So I want half the division, we all get it up on the same road. So you got 10,000 vehicles moving up the same road. So I want to get these guys out here and gone, before these guys finish their fight and then start moving up the road. So timing was pretty important on synchronization of that fight. This is a bridge we needed to capture on Highway 1. They hadn't quite finished it. We'd been watching it for 6 months. It was under construction, and the engineers were working on it pretty steadily, and we really were trying to help, really wanted them to finish the bridge. And we got intel where they'd run out of money, so they had to stop work for a month until they got more money, and they hadn't paid the contractors, and they were in disputes, and so we were trying to figure out how to send them some money so they could finish the bridge for us. But they got it all done except for 6 feet to keep the cars off. They didn't close in the last 6 feet on either side. They were going to have a grand opening, but to keep traffic off of it until they had the grand opening, they left 6 feet. But we knew by our satellite imagery, our technology, we knew what we needed to do. So my engineers were all ready. They had the dump trucks and the gravel, and within about 15 minutes, they filled in that 6 feet and had it ready for tanks to cross. Ted Koppel he was one of my embedded media guys. He traveled with my headquarters. He took this picture for me. Al-Nazariya that's Al-Nazariya right back here on the horizon. Now, if you'll remember Jessica Lynch, they had a convoy that went to Al-Nazariya, and they got captured and shot up. Well, that was happening at the time this picture was taken. Unbeknownst to us, because they weren't supposed to be in there, but they were in the city right back here in a pretty heavy fight. But we secured the bridge and the airfield and continued our attack. Now, what you see here are little boxes, but in reality, this whole road is solid vehicles. I mean, just every 50 meters, you got a tank or a Bradley or a truck. I mean, just from here all the way back down, all the way back down here to the border, it's just a solid traffic jam of trucks and tanks and bridge equipment, everything's moving up this one road. So we still got fights going on. Where you see a yellow starburst is where pretty heavy fights going on as we continue to attack to the north here. Remember, we want to get up here and put this airfield in to set the launching base for the UAVs and start looking for all the tanks that are supposed to be out here. This was now we didn't want to go into the cities here. We just wanted to bypass them, but we had to make sure that the enemy kept coming out attacking us, so we had to leave a force there to make sure that they didn't interdict our convoys and vehicles going through here. But it's pretty heavy fighting through here. As Samoa, and then we got to Najaf, it's the same thing. But all along the road, all along the Euphrates, this is the road, one of the roads we moved on here. They put in fighting positions like this. Another one over here. These are RPG warheads here that they shoot at our tanks and Bradleys. And so they literally had 200,000 of these fighting positions put in, all the way to Baghdad, all along Euphrates, all along all the highways, all the major roads. They had weapons and ammunition, and soldiers fought. A lot of times they would fight and then take their uniform off, put on their civilian clothes, and leave if we hadn't killed them. But you see the road here, so the tanks and Bradleys drove down the road, and these guys would try to ambush them. And it was just a constant fight on a lot of these roads as the guys moved, especially from our CAV squad, which was lead home on one of them. They moved for probably 12 hours there, where they were just constantly shooting, constantly being shot at or shooting. It was really a tough fight for those kids. And there, that's the unit that just shot all the ammunition up repeatedly. Now this was we really hadn't encountered any tanks yet. Most of the enemy was in wheeled vehicles or dismounted, dug in. And they didn't expect tanks. We captured thousands of troops. And they said, well, we're looking for the 82nd, we're looking for the 101st. they're looking for the air assault and the helicopter assault. Said, what are tanks doing here? They had no idea we were going to send tanks north. They kind of were re-envisioning the attack that we did in the first Gulf War, where we just went about 60, 70 miles and stopped. So, they were not expecting armored vehicles up there, and so they weren't prepared in these areas to fight an armored force. So, but they had machine guns on the trucks, and a lot of soldiers dug in, and they didn't communicate very well either. That was one of the other things, because of as we're fighting up there, we would basically anybody we encountered we killed, and so when we were attacked, they would come out of the villages at night and attack us, and this an hour, be 100 of them come out and attack, and then an hour later another 100 would come out and attack, and we'd kill the first 100. And they never would tell the second, the next group coming. I mean, they're all dead, so they didn't know to, so they never changed their tactics. They just, they pull up, assemble, and attack. And we would, of course, see them. They would never even see us most of the time, because with our thermal capability, our tanks and Bradleys, we could see out 2 miles, and you just see them coming. And so it was not a fair fight, which was fine with us. But they were fanatical, and they did come. Now, in the meantime, I don't want to leave the Marines out, and I'll talk about the Air Force towards the end. Marines were going, we got the bridge turned over to them, and we're moving through Al-Azariya in this direction to come in on this flank here. So our plans come up this way, and the Marines are going to come up this way. An-Najaf was a pretty key city in this area, so what we were seeing is they kept sending reinforcements down in this area, and so we figured we had to take An-Najaf to make sure that all our area here was secure. So we ended up committing 2 brigades into this fight, plus our CAF squadron got them across the river. But our CAF squadron came up on a little different road beside it, a little closer to the river, and they really were a lot of tough fighting. And so we got basically had An-Najaf secured without going in and destroying the city, but we cut all the reinforcements off and killed all their, they did have a few armored vehicles there, and some Scud missiles, things like that. We were able to destroy all that. And then the sandstorm hit. And we were ready for a rest anyway. I mean, it was, this is if you look at the days down here, this is into day 6 here, and we just constantly moving, constantly fighting. So we got An-Najaf secured. We were still waiting for some of our fuel trucks to catch up with us, and sandstorm hit. Now the sandstorm grounded everything. Everything in the region was grounded for about 72 hours. No helicopter could take off. The carrier group was all grounded. Just nothing could fly in this stuff. For about 48 hours. The only thing we had supporting us were B-52s, which had taken off, and B-1s taken off from England or Diego Garcia, other places. They were trying, but they're dropping from quite high altitude. They were there. So the enemy took advantage of this. They knew we couldn't see very well, and so they thought, hey, this is a good time. We don't have air support, we don't have helicopters. This is a good time to attack. So they really did come out after us during this sandstorm. Now, I've spent 8 years in the Middle East and been in a lot of sandstorms. Nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this before. This is the first day before it got bad. But you can't stop. I mean, the enemy kept coming, and our guys had to keep fighting. Our thermal sights were degraded, but it still functioned. This is an Iraqi, so we actually treated 5 times more Iraqis than we did Americans. We actually treated a whole lot more Iraqis, wounded soldiers and civilians than we did Americans. But the tendency in this kind of weather is just to climb inside your tent or your sleeping bag or your vehicle, shut the hatch, and try to get out of the dust, but you can't. And then it really got bad. This is about 3:30 in the afternoon with a flash attachment. And it just got black. And, you know, the Iraqis were seen as God punishing the Americans, you know. And I was beginning to listen to him there for a while. This is tough. I mean, you got lost, and it just took, you know, you take 3 steps away from your vehicle and turn around, and you can't find it. Or you know the tent's over there, or you know the vehicle, your command post is over there, but you know, you just miss it by a degree or two, and you're wandering off in the desert for 2 hours until you find something. This is our chemical suit that we wore. I talked about these, and so we really just have underwear underneath that. This is a flak vest. Everybody had a flak vest, and then the SAPI plate actually fits inside, so it goes right over your chest here, one in the front, one in the back. And there was a lot of publicity about those, but we didn't have, we just had enough for our dismounted infantry was on. But Sandstorm was very tough on people and you can see, and this is inside one of the command posts that they set up right on the job there. You can see the dust on the table, and just everything's and dust in the air. This is inside. It just never let up. And just, you know, so quite a experience. It did finally quit. I got permission to go ahead and move to Baghdad. This is one of our big decision points for all the way up to the president. It was, who goes to Baghdad? You know, and so I'm briefing my guys again. You don't see any smiling faces now. You saw my team was smiling at the dinner we had before we attacked, but everybody is tired, dirty, and a lot of beat people there. But this was my plan to move on to Baghdad. That picture was taken right down in this area here. So we had to go through the Karbala Gap and then cross the Euphrates and then going into Baghdad. And I'd gotten the 82nd and 101st had taken over some of the An-Najaf and some of the other areas where we were guarding, which freed up my whole division. If you remember, there were units spread out all the way down here. So they got to move up about 250 miles and refuel and then keep moving. You know, I mean, just to get into the fight here. My trail brigade had the lead mission to seize this city here and open the Karbala Gap. So this was our plan. The initial thought was that the 101st or the 82nd would go into Baghdad. And we did a 5th Corps did a deep helicopter attack. That's what Corps does. They've got all the deep assets. And so they had some attack helicopters that they went into a mission here to kill these tanks out here. And they were going after these tanks in this area. Every helicopter got hit. There's 22 helicopters in there. Every one of them got hit. That was some type of fire. 2 went down. One got captured. One went down in our area. The other one went down in enemy area and got captured. You may have some footage of that. But they very quickly lost appetite for deep attacks. There was just so much air defense. But they were looking for the helicopters. They were looking for the 82nd. They were looking for the 101st to do either an air assault or air mobile operation. So they had tremendous air defense resources all along the Euphrates River here, and just around Baghdad. And this, their focus on air defense was almost extreme. So, well, they weren't prepared for the tanks, but we just started encountering our first tank fights up in this area, and but this was a plan that I briefed that we were going to execute. After the helicopter fight, they quickly made the decision to send tanks into Baghdad instead of helicopters. So I got permission to go ahead and attack. Originally, we were not supposed to go to Baghdad. That was not our mission. Our mission was to go to objective Saints here and then turn and go north, but not actually go into Baghdad, not seize Baghdad. So it changed, and we were just going to go to Saints and Lions over here, the airfield. But where you see the yellow burst where we had heavy fights, our biggest armor fights were over in these areas here. Right here, we encountered 2 armor brigades here at Peach as we crossed the Euphrates. Here's we did an assault river crossing here with our engineers and river boats. going across the Euphrates. They'd blown up part of the bridge, and we had to get over and cut the wires. So engineers definitely got into a fight. This is one of the tank fights. We always won the tank fights. We never. I'll show you one picture. But we never lost a tank fight with them. We had one tank damaged with RPG fire. I'll show you that in a minute. But we always saw first, shot first, kill first in our tank. Sometimes they'd have 5 or 6 tanks firing at one of our tanks, but so they may get one shot off. But then we always won. They hit us a couple of times, but it didn't never destroyed our tanks. A lot of heavy fighting during that whole period of operation there. And this is our movement up to the Euphrates River, supporting that coast. Now, it wasn't all desert fighting. We also had, once you got along the Euphrates, it was more like a jungle. A lot of palm groves, a lot of thickets, and so our guys the infantry guys had to get out and go through these areas. And like I said, they just had fighting positions dug everywhere. I just have a lot of pictures with, they'll show the RPGs and machine guns there where the soldiers would shoot and then abandon them. But a lot of different terrains that our soldiers had to be prepared to fight in. Our first objective was to get to the airfield, which we did. It was a long night getting there, but we got to get some of those irrigation canals. One of them had 200 tanks and Bradleys going down the wrong way. They got behind the wrong area, supposed to cross, and it didn't make the turn. And they could never get turned around. Because you're on a 1-lane road and you got tanks and Bradleys going that way, and you can't turn them all around. So it was a long night for us. Finally, the lead elements made it to the airfield. I wanted 2 brigades to attack the airfield, but I just did it with 1. So, but it worked out fine. This is Saddam International Airport. Weird feeling to see an international airport empty. And, I walked through it the next morning, and it just was completely abandoned. It was all clean and nice, and ready for business. But you're the only person there. There really wasn't any fighting right in this area because all this was shut down. But they had a wall all the way around it, and there was a couple of battalion-sized elements that fought hard around the walls there on the exterior. They shot a lot of artillery at us. This is overpass going downtown Baghdad, where one of the artillery rounds is going off above us. Pretty ineffective though against the armored vehicles. They did hit. My 2nd brigade was the brigade that was going into Baghdad down here to take Saints, and then did the Thunder Run operation. And so they set up their command post in this area right in here after they did these fights, and they put their command post up there, and that was targeted. And we had a direct missile strike on our 2nd Brigade Tactical Operations Command Center. And so this is remnants of, we lost about 15 Humvees and trailers, and about 6 people killed in this attack here. The armored vehicles survived fairly well. The command tracks survived. And the brigades out in the fight, they're doing a Thunder Run, doing an attack downtown when this happened. I mean, it was pretty chaotic for them. But within 45 minutes, they had reassembled, right about 200 yards away, and set up communications. But a couple of Humvees there, and a pretty devastating missile attack on there. That's really the only real losses we had to their indirect fire. This is on the Thunder Run, the attack in downtown Baghdad. When an RPG hit, we have a generator on the back of the tank here, and that has a fuel line running to it. The RPG hit the generator, cut the fuel line, so fuel, normally this is over the front there, the generator sits right over in this area, so fuel was just pouring into the engine compartment. And then it caught fire, started burning. They just, I don't know how many 100 gallons it poured down in here. And we just couldn't get the fire out, so we ended up having to abandon the tank and leave it there. But there's fighting going on, both sides of them here. And, the guy didn't want to leave his tank. They had it out once, and then got in and started to take off again, and the fire started again. So ended up, leaving it. We did 2 Thunder Runs. We did one day, and then did another one next day. But during the night, once they knew we were there, they started better defending. So they put all these minefields out. These are concrete blocks here, to try to stop our armor force as we, because we went through one time and they knew we were going to come back. So that's what they did during the night, put all this stuff out there. So these are all anti-tank mines to block our roads. That delayed us probably 30 minutes. Tank just ran over these. The guy hit 30 miles an hour, just he jarred their teeth. But now our guys coming through on the first attack encountered some of this stuff, and it was pretty hairy there.
How do you get rid of mines that quickly?
Well, believe it or not, for these, a lot of them we just picked them up and threw them off the road. I mean, it's the ones you can see that you don't have to worry about. Now, some people we got mine plows, and we have a bulldozer, plow, and you've got a Mick, which our guys used on another one of these, which shoots out about 100 meters of explosives and blows up. And of course, the engineers did that first, and actually did it on this one to clear it. They just blow it, just a big explosion, blows all the mines up, and then drive down through the way there. But this is we're actually going downtown Baghdad, and we're very concerned about being ambushed and cut off. And the plan was to try to break our columns up into smaller units, and send the enemy in from the flank and isolate a tank company and then destroy it. And so here we've got a tank stopped, and now I'm about 3 miles from there watching it on a computer screen, and I see the half the column stops, but the other half keeps going. And so what we have here is a big gap, had about a kilometer gap developed in our column there, and there was enemy coming in, and then we got the reports of minefields and counter armor attacks. So I was getting pretty nervous, and I wanted to get these guys linked back up. And so they finally got it going. Left the tank and took off and got linked back there. Of course, lieutenant leading they'd all just been following the vehicle in front of him. And so, the lead guy, there wasn't a vehicle in front of him anymore. And so he makes the wrong turn when the highway split and starts going further downtown. And so he has, they finally get hold of him, and so he makes a U-turn on the highway there. But a lot of discussion about not sending tanks into the urban, into the cities. That was one of the philosophies from the command back in Washington Infantry Center, that you don't want to send your armor down into Baghdad. And that's one reason I did this, was to show them that we could. We had to send, because that is by far the most effective weapon. Urban area like this is a tank or a Bradley, which got protection and fire. Now, you don't want to drive down amongst tall buildings if you can help it. So, but we stayed on the interstate, stayed on the highways where we had room to maneuver a little bit, and no one could get up real close to us. Speed up here. Just one of the tanks. Like I said, we really, we could see our technology. Our tanks were so much better than their tanks. They just really didn't have a choice or a chance. Here are the different divisions that we fought. Fedayeen were very, very tough. That ended up, until we got to Baghdad, that was our toughest enemy. Saddam sent 3,000 Fedayeen, these special fighters, not really military, but paramilitary guys. I sent 3,000 down to each of the cities, in Anajaf, Basra, and they really forced the civilians to fight, forced the military to fight. They were kind of, they were fanatical. We killed 10,000, 15,000 of those guys probably. They just really, a lot of people said they were on drugs, they'd hype themselves up and they come attack, Like I said, I guess we killed most all of them when they attacked, and so the guys that came next didn't know the lesson, didn't learn the lessons, from the first guys, because they just kept doing the same thing. But they'd come in school buses and trucks and cars, and they'd all stop and get out and attack. And occasionally they'd load explosives in a car and drive it up, try to ram a tank and blow up. I did lose 4 soldiers to a car with explosives at one of the checkpoints. For military police guys that kept me safe. Ordered attacking us, a couple days after we secured the airport there. Talk a little bit about, I own Baghdad. I was there in charge, and and there was not one government official at work. I mean, everybody had shut down. There was not one policeman, not one fireman, not one electrical guy, not one sewage, water, garbage. The whole Saddam had shut the whole city down. Said, all you guys go away, don't ever come back. Said, we're gonna make it hard for the Americans, basically. So everything was shut down, and they were just tough. We owned all the zoos. I mean, there were no zookeepers, and so all the animals hadn't been fed in 4 or 5 days to a week. So you gotta, and of course the press is there to film it. So you gotta take care of the museums, and so you gotta try to. But we had the mission there to basically, and I relate a lot of it to New Orleans after Katrina. There was no civil order, no power, no electricity, no water, looting going on, chaos, and so that's what we encountered in Baghdad. So we had, I had a lot of different missions to do. I had 75 suspected nuclear chemical sites I had to go secure. Looking for the WMD, weapons of mass destruction. That was always, before I left Kuwait, I had 175 locations I had to go check out. On the way to Baghdad, about 100 of them on the way to Baghdad, and about 75 in the Baghdad region that I had to go put soldiers on the ground and secure those facilities. And so we had to secure all the hospitals and get them opened back up, get the power turned back on, get the water going, secure the food distribution sites, all those type of things. Really, just very quickly used all of my soldiers. We found a lot of money. One of my commanders called me about 8 o'clock in the morning and said, "Sir, we found some money last night." And we've been finding, 100, 200, maybe $1,000 around all over the place, Iraqi money. But I said, "Okay, well, just keep it under guard." And he said, "Well, sir, we found a lot of money." I said, "Well, how much do you have?" I said, "Well, probably 36 million." I said, "Okay, that qualifies." That's more than my checking account has anything else. So I'll send a truck down to pick it up. And so each of these boxes has $4 million in it. All $100 bills, Bank of New York, sealed. These are $100,000 stacks here. And $4 million fits in there perfectly. And they're all banded and sealed. They got a Bank of New York and a Bank of Jordan seal on it.
So you were also the richest man in Baghdad.
Pardon?
You were also the richest man in Baghdad.
Well, that was the first night, okay? He calls me about noon and says, "Sir, we found some more money," And well, there's a little funny story over here. So this all comes out there, and I look at all the boxes, and I'll go ahead and open one up just to confirm, yes, $4 million in here, because it's nice to count $4 million in your office there. So we put that back, and you'll see some of it was out like this. And so we put it back in the boxes, and there was room for about 2 more stacks of $100,000 in there. So it looked like there were about $200,000 missing. So I called my commander up and said, "Hey, Phil, how about talking to the guys?" Looks to me like, "No, sir, just stacked in there wrong, probably. They probably wasn't in there." And I said, "Phil, go. All these other boxes are $4 million each. This one should have $4 million probably." So about an hour later, he calls me back, and I was missing $200,000. I didn't tell him how much, so he says, "Yes, sir, you were right. We found some more money." And the soldiers had hidden it, and so we have $600,000 here. We're only missing $200,000. So we said, "Okay, let's have a serious conversation here." But yeah, they'd taken one box and dropped it in the lake, and they had taken money and stuffed it in trees and I mean, they hit, for about half a block there, they hit $100,000 stacks of money. So we went out and picked it all up, and got most of it. found another building that had, we ended up, at the end of the second day in my office, I had $864 million. $864 million in $100 bills. And, so
What happened to that money?
we paid my retirement on that. No, we shipped it, put it on a plane, sent it back to Kuwait, and then we used it to fund the, where we paid every civilian, every employee $25 emergency stipends, and to get the government going. That's what it was used in Kuwait, I mean in Iraq. My biggest problem was, you know, we had $100 bills. What I needed was ones. We were trying to get young men to go to work and to clean, pick up trash, and really we just wanted to get them employed so they weren't standing around causing trouble. You know, we had tens of thousands of ex-soldiers there, and young college students, and people that, you know, want to do something. So we put them all over getting brooms and pick up trash and pay them $2 a day. And so, you know, we did that for 2 or 3 months there. We needed $1 bills and not hundreds. A lot of people hear about the palace. This is one part of one palace strip. This is part of Camp Victory now, I guess they call it. This is a man-made lake here, and it goes on about probably a mile, about half a mile this way, with different canals and villas and houses and rec centers and boats, and this, I mean, this is just one. He had 3 of them out at the airport. This is just off the airport there. And they had 3 downtown and a couple more scattered around, and then more around the country. But really a phenomenal display of wealth. Now he kept all the money to, you know, to the family there, because most people didn't have anything. But this just gives you a little indication of the palaces, and just very, very nice, laid out, beautiful areas. We had a zoo in each one of these, each of the palace areas, and one of them, the zookeeper let all the animals out. You know, so it wasn't the closest to the airport. So I mean, for a month we had gazelles running across the airport. We had cheetahs and leopards and all kinds of animals running around. You know, that we had to find. Just want to wrap up here real quick, but they're just some of the sitting there at the airport after the fight was over. We wanted to capture, you know, what went right, what went wrong, and why were we so effective. And but you know, we just got great soldiers. And we are the best trained army in the world, without a doubt. You know, we devote more training and more money to, and way before this, with the National Training Centers, all the things that we go through to measure and test a combat unit before they go off to war is really phenomenal, very unique, and just we've got mature leaders, and now today we've got the most combat veterans in the world. Everyone in the military has been in combat, been shot at and is shot. You know, we just have great technology and able to adapt to that. It was a combined effort. We had Special Forces had, I'll talk about the Air Force in a minute, but had a lot of CIA guys out from the U.S. and other countries helping. They were pretty ineffective, CIA was. I very, very, very disappointed initially in what they were able to do. They talked a lot of big expectations, but nothing ever happened. Now, after we got to Baghdad and secured things for them, they became very effective. I had a CIA guy team with me in my headquarters, and you know, they said, well, we're going to have parades. You know, we're talking, and we got 3, Al-Nazariya and a Samoa mayors in our pocket. We're going to have parades, not going to be bullet fire. They're going to take out the division commander, chief of staff's on our side, and so you won't fire a shot. You know, and when we crossed the line of departure, when we went into our attack, we were 50-50, well, we got to shoot or not. You know, so all our guys were holding their fire, waiting. I had a cell phone, and the mayor and Al-Nazariya was supposed to call me on this number. came, so but everything, all the intelligence was wrong, all of our intel from the CIA was wrong. We have reports there are going to be chemical weapons, they're going to shoot chemicals at us. They never had chemicals on the ground. I'm firmly convinced he has them. They're buried in the desert or buried under a canal, but there was never any intent for them to use them, clearly. Just nothing. But we were told, and I'm sitting there in Kuwait reading all the top secret reports and said, it's going to happen. But it didn't. But these guys, we just look too different. We can't, we didn't have any agents downtown. We had to rely on people that lived there for intelligence, and Saddam was very good at finding those people out and taking care of them. They shot a lot of artillery. Guys did great. A lot of new sidearm, ATACMs, great range, just things that we had never. We've trained with these things, but never shot them in anger before. Well, we learned a lot of lessons from Afghanistan. We did a lot of things wrong in Afghanistan. And so that's one thing that's great about our Army is we talk about, and our services, we talk about what went wrong. We talk about what went right, but we also talk about what went wrong. We do after-action reviews. So why didn't this work? And we do that after every mission that we do. So we learned our lessons. Air Force performance was magnificent. We had stacks, 10 aircraft always on call. They were dedicated to me. And so if my guys needed an airplane, they called, and they just take them off the stack and then replace it. So we always had close air support except during the sandstorms. Just worked very well. This is an A-10. It's a tank killer, basically. The Air Force doesn't like to claim these. They tried to give them to the Army 2 or 3 times. But then they had second thoughts. Just a great group of pilots that flew. They fly down on the ground. They fly, 100, 200 feet, supporting the tank company commanders in the fight there. And so 2 or 3 of them got shot down supporting us. They were in fairly hand, so got shot down in got shot at over enemy territory that flew. They were able to fly into our zones. We've got an old OH-58 Delta that flew in Vietnam. Just still a great aircraft, but great. My president came down, and we received, the division received the Presidential Citation, first one for a division since Vietnam. And the focus here is on the soldiers. Just a lot of great warriors there that did great things. So I've talked enough now. It was a real honor to be selected to command a division, a real honor to lead them into war. You can be very proud of our, America. We got a great Army today, and just very, very professional, very good. You'll have a few incidents like Abu Ghraib or something like that happen that gets a lot of publicity, but and that's just just a minuscule group of people that we're not very well at and cause some problems. But as a general rule, you've got an Army that cares, that's professional. We always went out of our way to avoid civilian casualties. We went to the extreme to avoid civilian casualties. That's one reason we had our media teams with us. We had, like I said, 85 media teams with us, and they're there to capture the good and the bad. And beforehand, they asked me, well, who's the censorship officer? Who's going to review our footage before we send it off? And I said, no one. And I said, we've got 3 rules, and as long as you don't violate them, you're free to broadcast anything you want to. And so they really said, well, how are you going to control us? I said, I'm not. You got to control yourself. You got to be there with us. If you do something that causes us to get shot at, you're going to be there with us to get shot at. So, it behooves you. We had 4 killed, during our operation there. So, but a lot of good coverage. But I said, we're going to do something wrong. Our soldiers, we're going to kill some civilians, and you'll catch it. If that's what happens, that's what happens. But I want you to see the efforts that we go through to prevent the civilian casualties. And we went to great efforts and sacrificed a lot to we had a lot of weapons we could have used, much more devastating than what we did use, but it caused us civilian casualties. And it leaves a lot of little bomblets. So that's one of our bigger problems after was cleaning up Baghdad. Now this one, the Air Force dropped a lot of stuff there that didn't explode. And one of our rockets, puts out about 275 bomblets when it goes off. And it has about a 2 or 3% or 98% effectiveness rate. But that means there's 2% there that don't explode. And so you shoot 100 of those, and so you've got a lot of little bomblets out there that have pretty ribbons on them, little streamers, and so the kids like to pick them up and play with them. And so around Baghdad, we really had a problem, with kids being injured. So we did a real publicity campaign and put out a lot of flyers, and it was effective. But one of my top priorities was to clean up the battlefield, get this stuff off the streets. And so it was really, there were weapons and ammunition everywhere. Just unbelievable. The first month I was there, I had 20 18-wheeler trucks moving ammunition every day. That's enemy ammunition, Saddam's ammunition, that he had distributed around the city. Had that many trucks going 7 days a week, hauling stuff. The ammunition, just millions of tons of ammunition and bullets he had. And he took it and put it out in the schools. He put it in hospitals. Every school had a supply of ammunition in it. All the street corners had ammunition on. They built a neighborhood, had a square city block of houses. They were just brick structures, gutted inside, full of ammunition. They moved all the ammunition, because he knew we were going to bomb his ammunition supply points, because we knew where they were. So he moved all that stuff out and put it in places we wouldn't bomb our neighborhood. So they had built this neighborhood just to put the ammunition in. And so the stuff went just everywhere. It was unbelievable. So it took us months, and we're still cleaning the stuff up. We're really still cleaning the stuff up, because he hit it out of the desert. It was phenomenal. Okay, questions?